This exhibition really focuses on ideas of collage and pastiche. The exhibition, of course, then also looks at something that one might not always think about in relation to collage, which is making sculptures that are collage. Voyeurism is something that does come up in Richard's work in many different ways. He is clearly interested in looking, specifically looking at male bodies. That is very much related to his interest in desire, aestheticizing desire, trying to possibly explain desire or understand desire through this process of collage, through aestheticizing what that might mean. The House of the Mad Professor is a work that was made in 2008. It's actually part of the Hammer Contemporary Collection. The title, House of the Mad Professor, I think has a lot of sort of pop cultural references in a way, as well as literary references, as many of his works do. Inside this form, there are a number of pieces of furniture that have papers, they're stuffed with papers, and the papers are falling out. There are books that are open. So there's clearly some kind of work going on here that's a life's work. And the idea of the Mad Professor is often an older kind of person who, maybe is the mean, scary person in the neighborhood who nobody quite has an idea what he's working on in there. One of the things that's striking about the act of viewing this piece is that at first, one can look in the window and start to see that there are pieces of furniture scattered about, and then you start to notice that there are sculptures of male nudes that it's very disorienting when you look at it, because you can tell it's in a mirror, but you're not sure where it is inside the sculpture. So there are a lot of plays going on here between the ideas of interior and exterior. Because in a way, when you see the body and you're clear that it's being reflected in a mirror, there's some implication that that body actually, in reality, quote unquote reality, might actually be behind you. So there's like a very strange sense of orientation and this voyeurism that's going on. It's almost like being so drawn to something and then allowing your curiosity to bring you closer and closer to it, but then being very shocked by what you actually find. The male nude is something that is incredibly important to the whole lexicon in Richard's body of work. He's very interested in ideas of front and back, which of course, a person has a front and a back, therefore a figurative sculpture has a front and a back. Typically when a sculpture is photographed for an exhibition catalog or a postcard or a poster, you see the front. Richard, talks about and is interested in what happens when you walk around the back. And I think one of the things that's interesting about the house sculptures is that houses also have a front and a back. And of course, there has been a lot of very poetic and theoretical writing about the body as a house. So I do think that the houses, in a lot of ways, are stand-ins for bodies as well. And I think that idea of walking around sculpture as being something that must be circumnavigated is actually brought to the fore in this piece because of the fact that it doesn't have a front or a back. Richard Hawkins has been using the form of a table in his collages, I would say, since the early 90s at least. The table, of course, relates both to a pedestal for a sculpture, but also relates, of course, to a domestic setting. It also has all this space underneath it, which really implicates the lower part of the body. A lot of his work is driven by desire, sexual desire in particular, relatively explicitly. One of the things I really admire about it is that it seems incredibly personal and private, and he is welcoming us to actually be in the position of the voyeur, to look at him looking, which I think is an incredibly vulnerable position to be in. And as an artist, I think it's a great gift that he is able to give us this very, very specific view of the world.